One, and we are recording with Dr. Diaz, who we were just talking. Now I'm gonna because I read the text you sent me. But what is it that you're the? I'm gonna have you introduce yourself. But what is the World Peace Ambassador for the World Peace? What was that title?
Well, Tommy, first of all, thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, sir.
And yes, I'm the delegate of the World Organization for Peace. I am the delegate on the border between Mexico and the United States. So I pretty much take care of the issues when it comes to the organization in the border between the USA and Mexico.
Beautiful. And sorry, I just probably should have asked you that beforehand when we were just chatting. But everything else, introduce yourself. You are Dr. Diaz. You're in El Paso. You grew up for virtually all of your life in Mexico. What else am I leaving out?
Yes, Tommy. So basically, yes, I was born and raised in Mexico for virtually all of my life. I'm a physician. I'm a doctor. I went to medical school in Guadalajara many years ago. And then after a gap of almost 10 years, because after my both of my parents, unfortunately, they passed away, I took care of my family, of my younger brothers, and the business. I did that for 10 years. And then I started pediatrics and then allergy and clinical immunology. I did some training in Belgium in pediatric gastroenterology. After that, I started working for the U.S. Department of State, the U.S. Embassy, the U.S. Consulate in Ciudad Juarez, which is the largest consulate in the world, right here in Juarez, and basically doing panel physician work. So what panel physician work is that we take care of all the immigration coming from Mexico to the United States. So basically immigration, it's divided in two. Number one, it's authorized immigrants, and the other group, it's unauthorized immigrants. That's the way, we refer to immigrants. So it's legal or illegal, but it's more authorized, unauthorized. So we took care of all the authorized. We're talking about roughly between 110 to 115,000 applicants a year. So we took care of everything that has to do with chronic diseases, acute, communicable diseases like tuberculosis, STDs, and obviously a very important component of immigration, which is mental health. So you have 10 minutes, Tommy, 10 minutes to take care of a very complex and a very, I like to say, a different way of practice medicine, because in 10 minutes, you have to make a very complete assessment of a lot of things from an immigrant. And then once they're clear from the panel physician, they can go to the U.S. consulate. Once they're there, it's a different process that it's more on the administration side, but we take care of the scientific part, the medical part. So just to give you an overview of how it is, there are 745 panel physicians throughout the world. I am one of them. In Mexico, we're just less than 6 panel physicians in Mexico. So out of the million immigrants coming authorized every year to the United States, 600,000 of those immigrants, they are taking care of the panel from the panel physician program, which is in many countries in the world. The 400,000 rest of the million, they go through a process here in the United States that it's called adjustment of status, and it's taking care of what they call civil surgeons. Those are U.S. licensed practicing physicians in the United States, and they take care of all this adjustment of status people that they got into the United States with one of the many kinds of visas. There are roughly about 26 kind of visas. Once they're here, they do an administrative process to become permanent residents. But can you imagine 600,000 applicants seen by 754 and 45, I'm sorry, 745 panel physicians, and 400,000 seen by 5,000 civil surgeons. So I really think there's a great disparity on that. I don't know what you think about that, but it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Good Lord. Yeah. Is this like a direct descendant from like those old pictures you see on Ellis Island where they'd come on, wouldn't they like they draw like circles or something on people and it was like they could go in. I remember that from like a middle school documentary. Wouldn't they check for a handful of diseases or something from?
Definitely, definitely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Tommy, because that was the beginning of the panel physician work of immigration work and global health community. But that was obviously back in the day. Now it's very sophisticated. You know, we have a lot of great tools to try to do the best work because let's face it, when we talk about immigration, we talk about everything. There's not a single aspect of life that it's not part of immigration. You have economy, you have a culture, you have something very important, extremely important, which is national security. It's a matter of safety. It's a matter of security. So you have a lot of different things. And so it got very sophisticated and it's a very well done work. But, I'm just trying to make the difference that 400,000 immigrants seen by 5,000 civil surgeons in the US and 600,000 immigrants only seen by 745 physicians throughout the world. Oh my God, there's a lot of things still to do there.
Yeah, that it does seem to be quite the disparity. But yeah, I was gonna say it was probably my ancestors that were into those Ellis Island pictures. I mean, I'm Irish, so I mean, at some point my dirty Irish ancestors were coming over here, and I'm sure they were getting checked out. But to go back to what you're saying, checking for all the different communicable diseases, I figured that's probably pretty run of the mill. I had never once thought about mental health. I can't believe that as someone that you and I talked a little bit before this, as somebody that was pre-med, got into medical school. I lost a sibling to suicide in 2014. I understand mental health.
Sorry to hear that, Tom.
Thank you, sir. I've suffered it myself, as we all have. I'm kind of embarrassed. I had never dawned on me. Now, is it for, not to make light of it, not to joke about it, but is it for like overt mental illness, like this is someone who's like a paranoid schizophrenic, or are they like you and I are talking now, you have quote unquote known me for 25 minutes. If you talk to me every day for a month, you might see like, oh, there's some chronic anxiety there's some still waves of depression, but overall he seems like he's got his head on right. Is it for something that is very overt, like you see someone that within 2 minutes of talking to them, it's this person is harmful to themselves and others? Or is there something you go in deeper and could you be rejected for simple depression or chronic anxiety?
Very, very interesting question, Tommy. And let me tell you that this is the beauty of this type of medicine that we practice, because it's very complex. You really need to do a lot of work, a lot of study, a lot of courses here and there. And like I said, you only have 10 minutes. 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, you need to do so big of assessment that you have to come with the perfect and the right diagnosis, because the question will be, would you like Mr. or Mrs. to be your neighbor?
Mm-hmm.
That will be the first question. And then after you answer that question, it's because you make a very good assessment and you figure it out if the immigrant who is trying to come into the United States has any sort of tuberculosis, malaria, any STDs of any kind. The catalog is immense. Heart disease, heart conditions, diabetes, obesity, so many things that eventually will impact society in the United States, and obviously potentially also can be a burden for public health, in terms of cost. But mental health, it's a very, very, and I want to say probably the most important component of the immigration screening. So It's a very small window of time that you need to come with the right diagnosis, asking the right questions, looking at body language, and so many other things that we learned through the years. And so, yeah, it's a fascinating work.
That's so 10 minutes.
10
Now,
minutes.
I would have to, and maybe I'm wrong, I would have to assume a lot of those things are checked by, I don't know, like a kind of like an automated medical test, right? Like blood work, or is it, like a cheek swab, or like all those diseases, right? You're not going through for each one of the, I feel like a lot of that you could maybe, I mean, obviously I'm not experienced in it because I don't do this, but I imagine there's some sort of way that could be streamlined, right? All the different diseases, just, it's almost like genetic sequencing or something. What, so if that is almost mechanized, what things are left to that 10-minute window for you to do? What are the things that can't be done by the machine or the whatever?
Well, basically, what we screen for, it's after a very important questionnaire, or the medical history, we will get the information to see if there's some diabetes or chronic diseases or heart conditions, or this and that. For the other part, we need to do tests. For example, for tuberculosis, we need to have a chest X-ray. If on the chest X-ray we see something that potentially can lead to the diagnosis of pulmonary tuberculosis, then he or she will go to the next phase, the following phase, which is a sputum collection, and then culture, and very sophisticated tests, so we can see if there's active tuberculosis there. If there is active tuberculosis, unfortunately, or for them, they cannot cross, they cannot go, they have to wait until we provide treatment and we can prove that they are tuberculosis free. So it's a very, I want to say, it's a very complex and complete medical examination and mental health evaluation. So we have what we call three type of classes, which is class A, class B, and no class. No class, everything it's okay, you're okay to go, you go to the next phase, which is more the administrative part. That's a different part from medicine. Class B, we found out some things that it's okay for you to go, but you need to follow up once you're in the United States. And obviously there's a lot of communication with the CDC, with the NIH, and so on and so forth. And class A, it's a no-no. You cannot go until we or you fix the problem. So it's very interesting. But can you imagine, there are days that you see 800 applicants a day. That's why you have a very narrow window.
Yeah.
But definitely, like for example, here in Ciudad Juarez, which is the border with El Paso, where is the largest consulate in the world. Is the U.S. consulate in the world. It's right here, 5 miles from here. And they process 99% of all the visas, all the Mexican visas that are coming to the United States. Only 1% it's processed in Mexico City, and those are special visas, like adoptions and K visas, different visas. The challenge here, Tommy, is that, can you believe there are only 2 clinics authorized in Juarez to process that huge amount of applicants, and they basically they work like one clinic, so a little bit like a monopoly. But that's a different story.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask, so like as someone like, right, like myself, I'm 31, and I have known, as we were just talking about just before I interviewed that guy from Ukraine, and it makes you realize that we're in heaven. And luckily I had parents who beat that into me and made me realize, like, hey, you're living in America. But I mean, private Catholic schools, I've never haven't been able to go to the doctor. I've never missed a meal. I've never You know, I have a college education. I have a car. I have my own apartment. I'm doing a podcast for a living. And although I work very hard, I'm also, the older I get, I'm becoming more aware with every passing day that, I mean, truly, this is the Garden of Eden. And maybe that's why I'm so apparent about having a big old American flag behind me, because for all of the flaws of the United States,
Definitely.
not only are we living a better life than the vast majority of people on the planet, I'm living a better life than the vast majority of people who've ever lived. So
Correct.
I say all of this to kind of preface what I'm going to say now. So it's very difficult for me to to hold an opinion. You know, on one side, I can look at it from, like you said, the national security aspect. So you have to, if you don't have a border, you don't have a defined country. It's just what it is.
Exactly.
On the other hand, you know, and I can say that as somebody that loves Cold War history, I interview CIA guys. You know, I love everything about the intelligence agencies and the community. I think that stuff's also cool. On the other hand, as the person that has grown up in the land of opportunity and sunshine and rainbows, I also do have a kind of personal setback in that I can't just look at the border and go, oh, illegal, you shouldn't be here. Yeah, I have friends that are legal immigrants from Bulgaria, from Kosovo, and yeah, they had to go through all the motions. But it's very easy for me to sit here and say, oh, you got to go do it legally. And then after this, I can call my parents who are retired. I can talk to my brothers. I can go to the gym. I can go to Walmart. And the reality is if I was in Mexico being torn apart by cartels, and some guy who lives a perfect life in the United States told me, yeah, you can't be illegal, I'd probably hold up a middle finger and I'd sprint across the border. I know for a fact I would do that. Why wouldn't I? It's me. It's a zero-sum game. Do you, is there any, so I say all of that to now say, is there any part of you that has any sort of guilt or heavy conscience about, in a very much real sense, you are a gatekeeper? And is there any part of you that knows when you turn someone down, they're probably going to still find a way across? Is there, and I'm not coming at this with any agenda, I'm not coming at this from any angle. I hope I prefaced that question correctly. What are your thoughts on that? What are your feelings on that? You're turning someone down, if you have to, by, like, you know, the structure of the laws that you uphold. If I'm that person that gets turned down, I'm going to say, thank you, doc. And I'm going to find a way across that night. I got turned down by bars in college when I was 18. Thank you. I know. I understand. Yeah. I'm going through the back window in 30 seconds. Like, you know, I'm not going to not go in and get drunk with all the hot girls, you know? So your thoughts on all that?
Well, that's a very it's a, you know, Tommy, it's a very intelligent and very great question, actually. And you know, this is why this kind of work, it's fascinating, and I've learned so much of the whole circle of life, what I call the 360-degree view. Because when you get into the world of immigration, you get into the whole world, man. You're actually looking at a larger window of different things. You can see anything you can imagine under the sun. Let me just disclose this, that I stopped being a panel physician in 2016. Well, you never stop being a panel physician. I haven't been working actively as a panel physician since 2016, but I did that for almost 13 years, and I learned a lot. And you do feel bad because, you know, it's out of your hands. You need to do flawlessly your work. You have to do the right diagnosis. You have to put all of your effort and all of your knowledge, socially, emotionally, and obviously physically, and your knowledge as a doctor, to become with the best diagnosis, the better diagnosis, and then objectively do, okay, so we have this, and then you pass it on. It's up to them, you know, at the administrative level, they will make the decision. So it is hard, but you're also able to help a lot of people, because some, you know, it has been, well, I don't want to say thousands, but hundreds and hundreds of times that people, they didn't know they have this or that disease, and you make the diagnosis and you change their lives. for good or for good. Even though if they cross or they don't cross, or eventually they will cross, you already change a life, and you change a family, and you change a community. So it is very interesting. And you know, immigration, it's a worldwide phenomena. Immigration has been here since mankind.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we do. I'm an immigrant, so that's exactly what we do for the last I want to say 10,000 years.
Yeah.
And so it's it's a very interesting work.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I mean, truly from the dawn of time, right? I mean,
Exactly.
we're all,
Exactly.
yeah, we're all immigrants from Africa. We're also all, probably the majority of us are immigrants from the Bering Strait. You know, if you've got any Native American in you, you're an immigrant. We all are, yeah. So and I also have to frame it in like that historical, not just like I was born in America. There's also that whole thing. It's like, I'm lucky enough to be born in the spot where I don't need to immigrate, right? It's like, yeah, so you can't really reject it. So what got us in touch, actually, I completely forgot, was Dr. McCullough, that wonderful man. And
Fantastic person,
and,
incredible.
yeah,
Number one.
he's an angel. Yeah, he's the best.
He is.
So I guess that is interesting then, is how was it affected? And if you stopped doing it in 2016, but how was it affected by a pandemic? I feel like that is just, as the pandemic did with all aspects of life, it kind of just dumped gasoline and lit it on fire, whether it be sports, the economy, the military, whatever. I can only imagine that threw a massive wrench into the works with immigration.
Well, it was a game changer, definitely. Even though I'm not active right now doing that, but I've been consulting virtually all over the world on immigration things and global health aspects. It was a game changer, and it was basically, the program was shut down for 16 months. Can you imagine that? It was because no one understood exactly what was going on, and they didn't understand exactly the extension of the potential of the harm of the COVID-19 SARS-CoV-2, and they shut down the program. I mean, it was very minimum, only like extremely urgent cases, but the vast majority of the worldwide immigration, it was put on hold. So, like I was saying at the beginning of the conversation, there are 1 million immigrants coming every year to the United States. Every year. These are authorized immigrants. I'm not talking about the unauthorized or illegal. No, that's a different story. But 1 million. And so it's a large burden of activity and processes and authorizations and administration and medical examinations and so on and so forth. So yes, the pandemic definitely affected everything, and it changed a little bit, or shifted a little bit, the way to see immigration now. Because just to put it in perspective, from 2020 to 2021, here on the border, the CBP, they put into custody 2 million persons that they were trying to come in unauthorized. Can you imagine that, Tommy? Can you imagine 2 million people in, I want to say, like 14 months? And they're coming from all over the world, through the Northern Triangle, through the Mexican and Guatemala border, and they need to cross 2,000 kilometers, either walking, running, chasing, on a ride, on a bus, on a plane, on a mule or anything, and they suffer a lot. Yeah. Do you know that a little bit over 80%, and this is terrible news and terrible data, up to 80% of little girls and women, they get raped during the process.
Oh, sure.
Of the walking from the Northern Triangle, coming from Mexico, through Mexico, and going to the United States. That's terrible. I mean, it's terrible. We're talking about something that it will last for generations. So we need to when we talk about immigration, we need to put everything into perspective and to improve the process of all aspects, including medical, administration, everything that has to do with it. It's a commitment. It's a social commitment that we, as persons or people that are involved in some decisions or have some knowledge, we need to get better at this.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, we do it. I mean, it's the foundation of the United States. It's literally this entire melting pot. I mean, sure, I might look more quote unquote American because I'm a white guy with blue eyes, but no, I'm Irish. I'm 100% Irish. I'm an immigrant. It's just, it's been removed a couple generations. So it's easy to go, oh, I'm American. No, I'm an immigrant. I just, I'm a white guy. So I get a pass, which is bullshit, but it's a pass. Right. But
as a matter of fact, Tommy, everybody, we're all immigrants. Yeah. We're all coming from one place to the other place. And what we have to understand is what are the sources, what are the genesis or the alpha of immigration, what are the causes, what is pushing people to move from one place to the other. Yes, better conditions. Yes, better work, more money, more food on the table, more this, more that, but something that I really don't like at all is that someone has to move from point A, where they have everything, or at least they have their family, to point B because of safety issues. That's a no, Tommy. We need to work on that.
Could you go into that?
Like for security purpose, security, like, people that they're killing people in Salvador and Honduras and Nicaragua. They're killing people in all those countries, and they need to move because they cannot live there, even in Mexico, in some states.
Fleeing violence.
They're fleeing violence. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's like another aspect. Like I look at my buddy, Ivan, I hate Ivan. He's like 6'4", super handsome, from Bulgaria, but he's a professional bodybuilder, right? And he worked here for several years, green card, eventually got a citizenship. My other friend, Prince from Kosovo, same thing, green card, several years, moved here, physical therapist now. And those are guys that I look at them and they're probably the harshest critics of immigration because they had to work so hard to do it properly that, when I sit here and I go, yeah, I can't really criticize illegal immigrants, they'll look at me and go, I can. They'll say they can, and they probably can. But there's also that base level. There's just that base. It's like, I guess I told you I've interviewed like tons of special forces guy, and this isn't anything new or novel to this podcast, but you hear it from, World War I accounts all the way up to the modern day. As soon as the bullets start flying, politics goes out the window. You don't give a shit. They always tell me when they're overseas fighting, they're not fighting the war. They're fighting for the guy to the right and the left of them so that they can wake up tomorrow. That's just what it is. So I look at something like if you're fleeing violence, you don't give a shit about tuberculosis. Your base primal instinct. I'm an American citizen.
Correct.
If America was just done for tomorrow and I had to go to Mexico at the risk of death, I'm not stopping to get approval. I'm just not. It sounds great. And when everything else is going well, we can sit here and go, well, you should go through the proper channels. But when it comes down to it, I mean, we are animals with adrenal glands. And when that fight or flight kicks in, I don't give a fuck about I'm crossing from here to there. And if the people behind me don't kill me, the Border Patrol is going to kill me, but I'm not stopping until I get to safety. That is, and I guess you could almost say that we're seeing it now with, Ukraine, right? Them fleeing to Poland and neighboring countries.
You're absolutely right, Tommy. And that's exactly what happens every day. Every day, that's exactly the same. If you talk to the people that come to the border, and because I have interviewed them in this period of time, I have interviewed them, a mom, a 18-year-old mom with 2 kids, breastfeeding, a little one, no money, no nothing. They don't even speak Spanish. they're coming from Indian communities, from native communities in Honduras, in Nicaragua, and in Mexico. And they don't know what's going on. So obviously they will take that route. They will do anything in their power to try to save their family. Obviously, as a professional and I mean, that is true 100%. And I am with you 1,000%. On the other side of the token, as a professional, as a physician, panel physician, and immigration doctor, obviously I am pro and prone to an orderly immigration, obviously, definitely. You know, it's like I like the example that you set up. I love the example with your Kosovo friends and the Bulgarian friend. Because you know, back in the day when you used to go to the Kiss concert, well, you're very young, so probably Pearl Jam concert, and you're on the line, and there's thousands of cars, and you've been there for 3 hours to try to get to the stadium, and then all of a sudden 3 blocks or 1 block before, a guy tried to get in, you're going to say no. Exactly. So that's pretty much the the feeling of people, that they need to wait for that long line.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not to, you know, it's not to make light and say that, you know, like Ivan grew up in Bulgaria, you know, one room apartment with his family in the, you know, former Soviet. Prince grew up in a war zone, Kosovo and Serbia. You know, his dad was a journalist, and his dad had his legs and arms broken by the Serbs because he was, you know, thank God survived. But that's not to make light of their situation. I mean, clearly they're coming here for a better life. And you do, you have to, it has to be orderly. You have to have some semblance of civilization. But man, at the same time, it's like, I mean, you're fleeing like a cartel, you know, a place that's being literally and metaphorically raped by cartels, beheadings, just hanging bodies from, you know, is this Baghdad, or is this, you know, is this Mexico?
Exactly.
Yeah. Look at one of those people with a straight face and tell them you need to go through the proper channels. I'd probably strangle some with my own hands, right? It's now, is there like a certain level, I guess, on like just mass statistics? Do you almost have to just accept that a certain number, it's just not going to be an orderly thing? It's just that's the realism of it, right? Is a certain number of people are just, when you're dealing with 1 million immigrants. You know, this is episode 758. Once you get into the hundreds, you have to realize that not every episode's great. Sometimes the guest sucks. Sometimes I suck. Sometimes I don't bring my A game. You know, sometimes and you just accept it. And it's not to say that you don't work harder and try to get even better at it. But there's also a certain moment where you go, you can't have all of them be great. It just, you can't. So when dealing with these massive numbers, even when doing your best to do it in an orderly fashion, is there a certain, I guess, leeway, a certain margin of error where you just understand, you know, some people are just going to run across the border, or some people are going to slip through your own fingers? Is there like a level of, is there an acceptable margin of error?
Yeah, well, I don't want to say an acceptable margin of error, because when you get into this, you get into deep into the detail and you try to do your best and everything. But definitely there will be a lot of you know, large number of people that they cannot go through the legal or authorized process, and they will try to just flee to the United States at any cost, just exactly as you explained. But it's, you know, it's very, this is very tough. It's difficult. We see it every day. We see it here on the border. You know, we share a large amount of thousands of miles between Mexico and the United States, and you see it everywhere, and people from all over the world, from Haiti, from Cuba, Nicaragua, El Salvador, from Asia, from Southeast Asia, from Uganda, from Mozambique, you know, Central Africa, everywhere. And obviously, you know, coming a little bit more to the medical aspect, well, they're coming from conflict areas and difficult zones, and there's poor nutrition, limit or no access to healthcare. and they have diseases. They have communicable diseases like from varicella to you name it. You know, the catalog is it's very wide. So I really think we need to strengthen that area of the medical aspect, because it's important. You know, it's a matter of national security also as well.
There's also, and I look at this and, I look at this very loosely, but it's also like that, right? It's that cycle of, you grow up poor and you work your ass off and you become a Carnegie or whatever, or a Vanderbilt, right? And you become that guy that built his empire. And then you have the sons and they might take it to the next level. They're not going to be as like bloodthirsty as you, but they're going to take it to the next level. And then you have like the grandkids and then the great grand, and eventually you get to like the trust fund babies who with private jets doing cocaine and they're in rehab by 16. And it's like, oh, these pigs, right? The kind of beautiful thing about America, and this is how I've always viewed immigration, is like, it's good because we're constantly going through cycles of spoiled brats, right? I would like to think I'm a hard worker. I like to think my brothers are hard workers. Although my dad's successful, my dad grew up not successful at all, very poor, but he is probably one of the few that was able to also instill that work ethic in us. I can only imagine that if I, let's say, somehow made $1 million, $100 million, it's probably not going to be too many generations till my grandkids are brats. Now, if you have that happen at a national level, that the whole country collapses. But because the US has this constant flow of immigrants, whenever a generation of guys like me gets fat and happy and spoiled, it's great because we have guys from Bulgaria, Kosovo, and Mexico coming in, and they're hungry to build their own empire. And by the time that cycle runs through, my ancestors will probably be poor and they'll be hungry. So on a very, almost not to make light of it, but kind of making light of it, that's the beauty of immigration in my mind, is it's constantly replenishing America with hungry people. I mean, literally and figuratively, hungry people who want to go to medical school, want to become lawyers, who want to become entrepreneurs, who want to become business tycoons. And to me, that's probably like the best model of like a nation state, is to have this place where people flee to, and you have the opportunity for America, for all of its flaws. If you have the opportunity, you can get the house on the golf course with the Lamborghini. You can go after it. And because that trophy is there, people will always be yearning to get here. And I know I'm making very light of it. We're not talking about death and destruction, but I don't think there's really a question in there. I think I was just kind of stating an idea I had. But
no, but you're absolutely right. That's exactly what happens, and that it has been happening for the last century. You see people from the Philippines, from India, from Kazakhstan, from Mexico, from you name it, and they want to come here to the promised land, to the land of opportunities, the land of freedom, and definitely, I agree with you. This is a great country. This is a great country, but there also have beautiful countries. They also have great countries with great culture, with great things, but unfortunately they don't see the opportunities for them to bloom with their families and do their things, because there's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of corruption in those countries, and they need to leave because there's no way for them to stay there. There's no way for them to make a living, and they need to come to a country like the United States that will give you all these opportunities to do exactly what you just said. So you see all the best doctors are from India, from Philippines, from Mexico, neurosurgeons from you name it, and it's incredible. You see that, and then you ask the question, why this so intelligent person, why he didn't do it, why he couldn't do it in his country? Why? There's no conditions. There are no conditions for them to do what they can do here. People they're coming from China, from virtually anywhere. The number one importer of immigrants in the world is the United States.
Yeah.
You know which country is the number one exporter of immigrants?
China?
Guess.
India?
Mexico.
I got it.
Mexico, number one, both authorized and unauthorized for obvious reasons. We're just like this. We're close.
Sure.
We share a border.
Well, yeah.
So, but it's interesting. But you touch a very sensitive aspect of immigration of all the 300 degree view, which is the sociological.
Yeah.
The sociological aspect of immigration. It's incredible. We can be here for weeks talking about only that aspect, and probably we don't get a conclusion. It's so deep, it's so complex. There's so many things that take place. And this is why immigration and everything that has to do with that, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. We need more people that is interested in this, so we can help more, we can do better things, but also countries, that they have the means, they have the power, they have the money to push those countries like Mexico, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, etc., to try to find a way how they can help to improve their conditions and their situation, so people, they don't need to leave their countries, and they can bloom their societies in their countries. One good example, Tommy, I don't know if you have been following, and he's a young, intelligent guy like you, the president of El Salvador.
No.
Oh my God, follow that guy. He's amazing. His name is Nayib Bukele, or Bukele. He's originally, their parents and their family, his family come from, I think they're from Palestine. But he's a president. How old are you, Tommy?
31.
He's 34. He's the president. He's changing.
What's his name?
Nayib Bukele.
Which country is it? El Salvador?
El Salvador.
I'm gonna.
I'll get you an interview with him.
I was about to say, do you think you can get
Let me work on that.
Nayib Bukele.
Bukele, yeah.
Naybukele.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna try to get him on here. If you could help me, that would be awesome.
I'll definitely look. I'll definitely do that. And but he's changing everything. They used to have one. It used to be considered top 5 most dangerous countries in the world.
Yeah.
Because they have the Mara Salvatrucha right there. But this guy, a millennial that had a different idea, and he worked his way up to be the president of his country, just a small country, a little bit less than 8 million population, but he just, boom, he switched everything. And he has the first city that it's 100% based on cryptocurrency. Can you believe that?
Oh, that's badass.
It's incredible. So this guy, he's doing great things. So basically the message here is that we can do it, Tommy. It's just a matter of will.
Yeah.
If we can dream it, we can do it. It's a matter of will. It's a matter of coming together, bringing things together, and just create a new way of making society.
I mean, I guess I could look at like my own experience with quote unquote immigration. I was not a good student in high school, and I went to a tiny school in South Georgia called Valdosta, Georgia. It's a tiny college, and I went there, and after goofing off my freshman year and being a terrible student, I kind of kicked it into high gear my sophomore year. Stopped drinking, stopped smoking pot, started studying all the time. And there was a limited number of slots for people from all over Georgia to quote unquote immigrate, transfer to the University of Georgia. There's the University of Georgia, there's Georgia Tech, there's Emory. Those are like the 3 like respectable schools in Georgia. I wanted to go to the University of Georgia. And you might ask, like you said, if you could be a 4.0 student, why not do it from Valdosta? Why not do it from India? Because there's only so much I could do. Once I aced all my classes, there was no opportunity to do research or to, learn under better professors. And if I could go to the University of Georgia, I challenged myself further, did better there, and I got into medical school from there. And you could argue again, well, how come you couldn't do it from Valdosta? because the conditions weren't perfect. I maxed it out. There's only so much I could do, and I wanted to be the best thing I could be. And so I went to UGA. That's kind of how I view the brilliant doctors from India or China or Mexico or wherever. It's not that they don't love. I had great friends in Valdosta. I had a great time there. It's not that you don't love it, but ultimately you're looking out for yourself. You have to. That's not a selfish thing. You're just looking out for yourself. You have to move to where there are better conditions. And I know it's a light analogy because it's still first world country, but to me that's just like my own little quote unquote example with immigration. And even then, despite being a straight A student like I was, I had a lot of friends that were pre-med who also went to like private Catholic high schools like I did, right? Had nothing but opportunity. Out of all the friends I had at UGA, the two that consistently scored better than me in everything I did, no matter how hard I studied. I mean, I genuinely scored in the top 1 percentile of everything I did.
Wow.
Was Sung Yup, first generation immigrant from Korea, and
Wow.
Obi, first generation immigrant from I think Congo. And to me, that's always kind of been one of the lasting impressions of immigration in my mind was like, here are these guys. I thought I worked hard. These guys worked and they had jobs and they were doing, and they got into like Harvard and Hopkins. And I was like, here are some guys that blew my doors off in like the pre-med race while holding down jobs. And I think one of them even had a kid. And that to me has been like the lasting impression of immigration in my mind is like, dude, you can't argue that they are not adding to society, adding more than I did. They scored higher on this test than I did. And again, not really sure if there's a question in there, but that's just one thing I always remember. I think of Prince and Ivan from Eastern Europe, and I think of Sung Yup and Obi from Africa and South Korea, and how they are all the hardest workers I've met. I mean, genuinely, the hardest workers. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the 4 immigrant friends I have are the 4 hardest working people I know. And yeah, again, not really sure if there's a question.
Are you still in touch with them?
Yeah, with Ivan and Prince, I haven't talked to Obi, and I talked to Sun Yup every once in a while. Haven't talked to Obi. I remember Obi interviewed at the University of Miami where I interviewed for medical school. I remember we were both there and we were talking, and I was so excited because it was my first interview, and he was acting all like nonchalant, just kind of like cool. And I was like, man, I was like, you don't really give a shit. I was like, you're playing it cool. And he was like, it's not that, man. He was like, I interviewed at like Harvard last week and I'm going to Hopkins next week. He's like, I got too many things on my mind. I was like, you motherfucker. Like you have every option in the world. He was just killing it. And I was,
Wow.
but again, to me, it's like, both their parents, barely spoke English. And it was just like, oh, these are the people that are, it's not just some feel good story. Like they're coming here and they're day laborers. It's like, no, they're out schooling me. And I'm a cocky bastard. And so that's kind of my takeaway from it is like, you constantly have to replenish the well of the pool of hardworking people. And I think that's what makes America America.
Definitely, definitely. I agree with you 100%, and Tommy. And it's funny that you mentioned the University of Miami, and we're talking about also about immigration. Can you guess? Can you guess who the president of the University of Miami is, and where is he from? The number one guy, top number one
Of Miami University?
Yes, sir.
I don't.
He's from Mexico. He's from Mexico.
Of course he is.
He's a doctor.
Yeah.
His name is Julio Frank.
Yeah.
He used to be the Secretary of Health in Mexico like 4 administrations ago. Look who's there. And he was coming from being the dean of public health at Harvard, a Mexican guy.
Yeah.
So can you imagine? So basically, I agree with you. You know, these are talented, gifted people that they want to do their best. They want to do their best and they want to bring their best to this beautiful country, this beautiful society. And it's just a matter of putting the effort together and do the right things. I think, you know, and the other thing, it's I don't know what's your position on that, Tommy, what's your take on that? But the other thing, it's values.
Yeah.
Values are very important. We need to keep those values. I have four boys,
Mm-hmm.
four boys. My oldest 26, my youngest 12. And you know, if I want to leave them something, it's the example of values.
Yeah.
That's one of my main goals. You know, I don't want probably I'm not gonna leave a big check for them or something, but just values, understanding, and just being good person, good people, help each other, help people, try to do something for your community. And that, you know, that will be something that that will make put a smile on my face once I leave this world.
Yeah, I have three brothers, and yeah, it's same thing. I don't think the old man's leaving us a big check, but I do think that he raised us correct. At least I'm a little biased because I'm me. I'm not going to say I was raised incorrectly, but yeah, it's same thing. Kind of on a closing note, and this is kind of out of left field, but I was just thinking this is going to sound like I'm sponsored by like Raytheon or Lockheed Martin or something. I'm not. I wish I was. But when you see this beautiful place, the United States, you know, protected by two oceans, protected by a frozen wasteland up north, where you can only shoot missiles over, you can't really invade. I mean, truly, like in this little pocket that seems like it was handed by God, and a place where people from all over the world strive to come. Obi, Sunyup, Prince, Ivan, the president of the University of Miami, yourself.
Alex, yes.
Yeah, Alex. Elon Musk, right? I mean,
Exactly.
immigrant, right?
Exactly.
It is this perfect place where, for all of its flaws, people come here and truly do, I mean, just conquer what can't be done anywhere else in the world. The rest of the world is not, it's not sunshine and rainbows, be it cartels in South America, be it just eternal terrorism in the Middle East, be it a totalitarian, technocratic, communist dictatorship in China, be it an oligarchical, authoritarian Russia, be it the kind of stripped down Soviet bloc nations, be it war torn Africa. I mean, it really is. It's something special here. And although everything we're talking about is a feel good, inspirational, feel good and inspiration doesn't win in a war. And I say all that to say, to me, that's kind of like the justification for like the size of the US military. When people say it's ridiculously huge, it's the military industrial complex. Yes, there's truth in all of that. But I look at a very simplified, childish view of it. It's behind that wall of overwhelming military force that this Garden of Eden is able to exist. Do you have any thoughts or opinions on that? I know in general, the US military kind of gets a bad rap. We're just invading everyone, we're blowing everything up. On the other hand, you know, the reason why cartels aren't here, the reason why ISIS isn't here, the reason why China wouldn't dare invade is because it's instant death. And to me, there's, granted, again, I'm biased. What are your thoughts on if someone, you know, who grew up here like me, if they said, you know, our military is too big, what are your opinions on that? Do you look at it as, hey, I've seen hell, and yeah, you need to defend this place. It's heaven. You need to defend it from hell. Or have I just been successfully brainwashed by American media? Am I waving the flag and we don't need all this? And I just thought of that's really nothing I've ever thought of before in terms of immigration, but I figure if I have you here, there's no right or wrong answer.
Well, Tommy, let me tell you that this is a very, very complex
Yeah.
or question, extremely complex. And obviously, probably I'm not the right person to answer that for different reasons. What I can tell you, Tommy, is that uh, imagine that you are in a gold mine and you've been uh, that you have all this gold and everything there, and it's precious because you also have your family and you have
Yeah.
something beautiful there. You want to protect that, and I really think that's exactly what the United States has been doing, and he's been doing tremendously well because they're protecting their gold mine. And I'm not talking about the gold specifically, but in the philosophical way of thinking about something precious. It's their people, their culture, their everything. That's why, and I think why they have grown so much in the military, and they have all this, all these tools to defend their beautiful country. And so that will be my answer to that very, very complex,
Yeah.
very complex
I threw a,
question.
I threw
But
a
it's
real,
just they're just protecting something beautiful.
yeah, I threw a real Rubik's cube of a question at you, and that's no, I think that's probably about as good as an answer as you can get. I mean,
But
for
if you, Tommy, I'm sorry, but if you would ask me, and probably I'm making this question for me, is that what will be, Alex, what will be your best advice when it comes to the world in terms to try to get a better world?
yes,
I will tell you definitely from the bottom of my heart, and a lot of years of experience traveling the world and talking to people of different cultures, different religions, and everything. Um, we all want one thing. We want peace. We want to we want to live good. We want to protect our family. So that one issue will be values, Tommy. Let's invest in values. Values will last forever. Will last forever if we invest it at the right time, the right place, and the right values. That will be something that can definitely create hope. That's what we need. People, after this pandemic, after what happened, that a little bit, I want to say the number, it's a little bit close to 500 million people got infected with COVID. Up to date, 6.1 million people died of COVID. We haven't seen this in 100 years since the Spanish flu, but I have it right here. A good book, by the way.
pandemic.
I recommend you this book. Tommy.
It's good.
So
I
yeah,
listen. I listen to an audiobook every week, so I
yeah,
will listen to it.
yeah. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you, the name and everything. It's a great book. So we haven't lived something like this in 100 years. We didn't have experience. We didn't have nothing close to what happened in 1918 to 1920. So, we suffer a lot. We suffer in all aspects of life, socially, health, death, fear, economics, everything. So I think we learned a lot. We learned a lot, and we're ready to face the new challenges that are coming to our lives, because I can guarantee you, this is not the last.
No.
We will see more things, and we learned a lot of things. We need to come together as a society. We need to be better human beings. We need to be better doctors, better people, to try to help as much as we can to our communities and be a better society. That will be a little bit of my overview with what's going on. Unfortunately, we are facing one of the a very sad confrontation in Ukraine. People in Ukraine, they're suffering. A lot of people, kids included, and innocent people are dying every day. And at the end of the day, what we need to push is to have peace.
Yeah.
As much as we can.
Yeah. Dr. Diaz for president. I'll vote for you. I'll run on that ticket with you.
Yeah, so Tommy, so many things that are going on in our lives, and this pandemic really shook everything that has to do with society, and we haven't seen anything yet, unfortunately. The outcome of this, we're only watching the tip of the iceberg, in terms of specifically in terms of mental health. There are some things unfortunately coming of for what happened for 2 years with the mask.
Oh yeah.
And people of the staying at home and not socializing and everything. Eventually that will come up.
Oh yeah.
It's a matter of months and years that we will see that. So we need to be prepared. That's why I am stressing as much as I can to all the places that I go to talk about, being prepared as being a better human being in all aspects, including peace.
Absolutely. Dr. Diaz, it was an absolute honor talking to you, my man. That was fun. And I don't know what you're talking about earlier when you said you had to, work on your English. You texted me you're like, my English isn't great. So I was like, okay. Like I just had on that guy from Ukraine. His English wasn't. Your English is fine. It is fine. I mean, not fine. I mean, like indistinguishable from my own. So you're a humble guy. You got nothing to worry about, man. Your English is perfect. It's fine. Absolutely. Again,
The other thing before we end this great conversation, and thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, and I'm gonna have you on again. Don't worry, we're gonna do another.
Thank you so much. But one of the biggest challenges, one of the biggest failures, and the biggest mistakes that still needs to be fixed going forward on all this is public health communication. We need more speakers, more doctors, more what I call biopolitics. Whenever you get the chance, Tommy, try to read about one of the best philosophers and thinkers of the last century, a guy by the last name of first name Michel, last name Foucault. He was a French philosopher and psychologist, and he talked about biopolitics. That one of the greatest lessons that I think humanity learned this past 24 to 26 months, when the first case in Wuhan started it on December 19, 2019, was that the biggest, largest, and most precious commodity in life, it's not oil, it's not gas, it's not gold, but it's health. Number one commodity. So we need to change that aspect. We have to be more towards and prone health than prone disease. More, I call it, this is not a healthcare system, this is a sick care system. So now we need to bring in to turn it to be a healthcare system now, the real healthcare system.
Yeah, absolutely. I think brilliantly said. Dr. Diaz, I will text you. I would love to have you on again sometime. You're a cool guy. I like talking to you.
Thank you, Tommy. Same here. I see and feel the same.
Thank you.
You're very young, very talented, and I see a bright future ahead of you.
Oh, you. Thank you, sir. I am gonna pick up that book. Actually, I'm not kidding. I listen to an audiobook a week. I have to, or I'll go crazy. Real Anthony, I have that downloaded. Yeah.
You have to read this, and this is another one.
Truth about COVID-19. Dr. Joseph, I'll write that one down.
You're gonna like it a lot. And last but not least, you're gonna love this book. It's in Spanish, but it's in English, the original version. It's a guy from Israel. Jewish guy.
I read that.
Oh my God, this is incredible.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, he was starting doing his research for this book in 2016. Can you imagine? And he was talking about the pandemic already.
Yeah.
This is a futurist guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. Yeah. So and let's stay in touch. Tommy, you have a friend here in El Paso, Texas, Juarez, Mexico. And there's so many things we didn't talk much about the pandemic because there's a lot of information and good information that I have, but we will talk about that.
Yeah, we skimmed by it. We just me. Well, that's how this podcast goes. I schedule a guest and we plan on talking about a topic, and then we don't go on it. We end up just talking about the military and Bulgaria and whatever the hell. But that's why I like it though. Yeah, no, we'll absolutely do that. And man, if you can actually like somehow put in a word to the president of El Salvador,
I will do it for you, man.
If you can do that, if you can do that, I mean, holy cow, holy shit. I've emailed a lot of heads of state before. I've never got I got a no from George Bush and a no from Obama. Putin never responded. I emailed him last year, and neither did Xi Jinping. Maybe I need to aim lower, but I shoot for the.
I really think we can get this interview. You're gonna love the guy. He's a thinker, man. He's a thinker. He's doing something amazing, amazing. So you watch out for El Salvador. That in the foreseeable future, it will be the place to be. Remember.
Hell yeah. Well, let's get him on here. That would be.
I'm gonna start working on that interview. Okay.
I will. If you don't, I will. I mean, you've got my mind. You've got my gears turning now. All right.
Yes.
Dr. Diaz, thank you so much, sir. God bless. Thank you for coming on. That was an awesome podcast. I will send it to you later this evening when it's uploaded. We'll schedule another. I will get those books and all that good stuff. And thank you, Dr. McCullough, for putting us in touch. So
definitely. Thank you so much. God bless you, Tommy, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Take